Welcome to Handforged, the podcast where real tradespeople share their real stories. Here at Handforged, we're dedicated to bringing attention to the trades, fostering a community of blue-collar professionals, and offering support through shared experiences and insights. Each episode will dive deep into journeys, challenges, and successes of our guests. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out in the trades, you'll find valuable tips, inspiring stories, and practical advice to help you navigate and thrive in your career. So grab your tools and get ready to be inspired. This is Handforged. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Handforged. Today we have Jay Sarcione with First Rate Moving. Jay and his team are the guys that do all of our delivery and logistics for Seacoast Cabinet. I brought them on, I don't know, about 6-7 months ago, something like that. I've known Jay for probably 10-15 years. And, you know, we ran into an issue with Seacoast Cabinet where I needed somewhere to be able to send my cabinets logistically and then someone to deliver my cabinets. And me and Jay kind of worked something out where he did some receiving until I could find my logistics location. And now his team is the one that does all of our deliveries. Has been a huge help for our team and, a big part of our team.
At Seacoast Cabinet, Raleigh, Mass., we offer a full range of services from design to installation, tailored to residential and commercial applications. We carry 3 lines of American-made cabinetry to fit any budget, ensuring that you get the best quality and value. For more information or a free quote and design, head to seacoastcabinetne.com.
So welcome, man.
Thank you, Frank. Glad to be here, man. Let's chop it up.
I'm glad we finally made this work. I think the first time got a little screwed up, but we're both busy dudes.
It's life, man. It's life,
It's life.
Nothing always goes as planned, you know?
Like this morning.
Yep, exactly. But we got to get it done regardless, you know?
Yeah. I have a truck coming in this morning with some cabinets on it. I can't be there because of course they're coming while I'm doing the podcast. So I'm like, hey, Jay, can I borrow a guy? So he had a guy supposed to come over, and this morning the guy fell down some stairs and broke his arm.
Yep,
so
exactly. First
first
injury that anyone that has ever happened being in this business for 10 years.
Yeah.
Just so happened this morning, before they even got started, did the walk through this real old house up by the mountains. Staircase, I guess, was just, you know how some of the old houses are.
Yep.
Didn't even start carrying nothing yet, nothing.
Dude.
Poor guy went down. I just talked to him before I came in. It's broke his wrist and then another part right here.
Damn, dude.
So, and I don't even know what hospital's up there near Laconia. I don't know.
I don't either. I think there is a hospital.
Broken arm's a normal thing, so really anyone could probably be good with fixing that up.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it sucks for him and the way that he does his job. Do you guys use like Aflac or any kind of like beneficial type of insurances for like injuries and shit?
No, just regular workers' comp. I mean, I look at it this way. It sucks because he's one of my go-to guys. He's the guy that, something comes up last minute. Yeah, I'm in, I'll be there.
Yeah.
He's just an overall real good employee and good person. So, I look at it as, you've been paying this workers' comp for 10 years, never had to use it.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why we have
hopefully
it, right?
he gets taken care of good on his time that he's going to have to take out. So,
yeah. The Aflac stuff is pretty cool because though the guys pay for it and it's cheap, it's like $5 a week or something like that. And if they get injured, then they get like checks from Aflac for different things. So it's like a little bit more of supplement. I got a guy, I'll probably make the intro so you can talk to him. And then you just bring them in to like talk to the guys. You don't pay for anything as the employer, but if they want that, then it's beneficial, especially for people that are in the trades or are moving shit or using their hands. A lot of hairdressers get it because like if they get hurt, like they can't make a living either. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But anyways, So man, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your business? Maybe just some current projects that you have going on, stuff that you're doing. I know you have guys kind of everywhere right now. So talk to us a little bit about your business, what you guys offer, that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. So the business is First Rate Moving and Storage. We've been around since right at the end of 2015. And it was probably 2017, 2018 when we really started taking off, getting into different aspects of the moving industry. So fast forward now, it's been 10 years. We got a warehouse in Windham, New Hampshire, and that's where we store people's stuff. Currently looking to try to get a bigger location, but it's very hard right now, and everything's just so much more money than it was a few years ago.
Right.
So dealing with that. And then we have an office in Andover, Mass. And then I have one sales guy that works down out of Naples, Florida, which is used for, he's been in the business, in the moving industry, actually longer than I've been alive. He started in it like a month or so before he started in the moving industry in January of 88, and I was born in February, so he's got the experience. So he takes a lot of the incoming calls, and I've learned a ton from him, of course, over the years, so he's really been beneficial.
But so you have sales calls that go to him, and then he does all that. He does the scheduling or setting it all up and stuff.
Yeah, so he takes the majority, probably 70 or 80% of the inbound sales calls. Ones that don't go to him would be, example, something like a friend of yours say, "Hey Frank, I need to call a guy to move this stuff or whatever," and you give him my cell phone.
Yeah, right.
But most of the stuff that comes off of like any ads or people go on the website. Any social media type stuff, it all has that number for the most part, and it all just gets forwarded over to him.
Interesting.
Because he can quote all the jobs, especially smaller ones, right over the phone. And then when he has access to my calendar, so if someone calls and they got a decent sized house, we got to get over there. He can just kind of plug it on, pick a time and whatever, and I'll go do the in-home walkthrough then. So
that's sweet.
Yeah.
How? Just curiosity. How do you go about paying somebody like that? Is it like a sales, like a commission, or is it like a salary?
So for him, it's straight commission.
Awesome.
So he's a real, hustler, go-getter. Like we usually talk at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of us will text each other, go over the stuff from the day before. He's a sales guy. The phone rings, he picks it up.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to you or me being the business owner. If something comes in, we just, it's got to handle it right now.
Yeah.
Where a non-commission or salary employee is going to be, I'm off the clock.
Yeah, right.
Where he's like, this is money, possible money coming in. I'm taking this call. I'm going to step outside if I'm out to eat and figure, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. So
I like that.
But yeah, no, he's been great. He's been great. So
yeah. I was just asking because I just hired my first outside salesperson.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to how everybody goes about, paying and stuff. I guess for us, it's a little bit different. It can't be straight commission to start. So she did start with just a small salary, but it's very like commission based and incentivized that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a hard time trying to figure out like how to pay that person. I'm like,
yeah, no, and I could, I imagine it's going to be like a lot of trial and error. I mean, eventually I'll want to have someone taking all the calls that I typically still take, similar to just set stuff up or, small jobs, be able to quote them and everything.
Yeah.
But, it's going to be a hard thing to decipher, like what is the fair pay and how long is it going to really take them to be able to close more sales and do all this stuff where you feel like they're getting compensated for what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah. The other guy came to me, he had so much experience that he's like, this is what I do. He want, commission only, we can do this, that. So like, I know like if we get so many incoming leads, I can kind of expect what's going to come of it. Cause he's in a routine. He's got it,
He's been doing it forever.
Yeah.
It's good to find those kind of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet, man. So, all right, so that's kind of the business and, what you guys offer. What kind of jobs and stuff are you doing and what kind of services do you offer? So
we do a whole bunch of different types of moving services. So I mentioned earlier we have the storage, which basically is, it's a perk for the customers. A lot of people sell their house. They may not have a new place yet. And instead of them having to have, the mover move them out, then they got to set up something with the storage company and then have us go back and get it. We can kind of put it all together. So it's just one person, one company they have to deal with. We do a lot of local moves, house to house, around southern New Hampshire, good amount in Massachusetts as well. And then one aspect of the business that has really grown good in the last... When COVID started? 2020?
2020, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. A lot of the, a big part of the business that's really grown since then has been a lot of long distance moves. So like actually today I have Dixon, who is down doing a delivery in Georgia. So
Shout out Dixon. I love that dude.
Dixon, I love you too, brother. All right, suave, right? And then Gregory, who you also know, is on his way to Florida. So we get a lot of people relocate, whether it's retirement. I mentioned during COVID because everyone was working from home. So we had a lot of younger age people calling like, I can work remote now. So I'm going to move to Miami and work from there. And they're like 23 years old. And I'm like, yeah, see how that works out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we really like doing the long distance though, for sure.
Yeah.
So
I was just actually having this conversation. I was in Miami over the weekend, the big conference down there with entrepreneurs and a bunch of real estate investors and stuff is cool. But we were talking about how, Miami can make or break you, man. It's very fast-paced business-wise, a lot of networking, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of big dogs down there.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of things that can, interfere with that. You know, the nightclubs and the party scenes, and there's a lot of distractions. So you can either go down there and ignore the distractions and make a killing, or you can go down there and get consumed by the distractions.
Yeah, I feel like Miami's the type of place where if you're starting out in your hustle and starting to really build your money up, your business up, whatever it may be, I don't know if Miami's a good place to start it. A lot of people that I've seen or met down there, through Eric and stuff, these are all people that have established their businesses. They got a, killer career going, and Miami's like a business hub now.
Yeah.
Like half of Miami, everyone has got millions upon millions of dollars. Right. And then there's the Miami that most people from the Northeast know. It's like, let's go to South Beach, let's go party, let's go to this festival or whatever the hell goes on. You know what I mean? And it's not a place if you're just starting out, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
I'm with you, man.
But
yeah, I would, I'd be scared. Like I think about like my boys, like, if I sent the boys down to like start a business or go down there to be like working professionals, my boys are pretty disciplined. They came up pretty disciplined, but I'd be fucking nervous, man.
Yeah, Miami can probably suck you in when you're a young guy. Absolutely.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. But it's nice down there, but I could never see myself living in that area at this point in my life. I got my 2 little girls. My wife, doesn't seem like a good fit for me. Yeah. I'm sure there's places outside of the city where, a ton of people that have a lot of business in the city live with their families and all that type of stuff, a more laid back way of life. But I've never been there. You know what I mean?
Either. Yeah.
I'm comfortable where I am. I've been here a while, so I'm good,
Yeah, man. So how did you get into this? Why the moving business?
Yeah, so how it started was when I had met you, right, in the beginning of my recovery journey at the Granite House, where you were doing some woodworking with the guys, right?
Yep.
So during that time, and this is kind of a funny story, but during that time when I was allowed to go out and look for a job,
right.
The first job I got was at a company in Andover, Mass. called IWP. Right, and what's called is Injured Workers Pharmacy. So what it is the location in Andover is the home office, but they also have their pharmacy there, and they work with workers' comp patients, all this type of stuff, right? So I worked in the mailroom there. Mail comes in, sorting it, this, that, whatever. I was just maybe 6-8 months sober when I got my job there. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I've always liked to work, even when I was going through, negative stuff in my life or whatever. But I was working there, and, once I left the Granite House, I moved into an uncle of mine's house in Salem. He's like, we want to offer Jay some help, save some money, come stay here. Mm-hmm. Right. So there was a guy that worked at my full-time job that had like a small moving business on the side. You might actually know him, Keith Urquhart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because he's from Salem or Wyndham or something.
Yeah. I think Wyndham, yeah.
Yeah. So he used to go down to Boston at night and deliver these like storage pods and all this stuff. So he's like, hey, I need a hand. Can you do this? Whatever. And I worked with him for a while. And then eventually I really liked the company that I worked at in Andover. It was a good company, but without I never finished college or none of that stuff. Without a degree, there's only so much you can do where you have to have that paper to get a better job, basically, or make more money or whatever.
Corporate America.
Yeah. So I was working with Keith on the weekends, in the evenings a lot as well. And then eventually I just kind of had some other ideas on like, hey, why don't we try this or why don't we try that? And I'm still in touch with Keith today, but I'm kind of like, I kind of want to go this route and he wanted to continue on this route. So I just kind of branched off, started my own thing. And then maybe 6 months in, I quit that full-time job and been doing this ever since,
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't, I looked at it at the time when I first started, I looked at it as like, okay, I'm making $15 an hour sorting mail here. It was a good place to work. You had benefits and all that stuff, but I wanted more for my life. I know I had more potential or whatever.
Yep.
And then with Keith, I was making a little bit more than that. But then I'm like, we did a lot of work in and around Boston at the time. So I'm like, I'm looking around, I'm like, people spend this much, and this much to move their stuff. Like, there's other ways we could make some money here. And then eventually, like, at that time, I was always in the gym. I was, younger, in better shape. Put it this way, I'm still very young, but I didn't get hurt ever back then. So I'm like, let me go do this stuff on my own. You know what I mean? And that's the way it's been ever since, man. Since like 2015, at the end of 2015 is when I started the business, and it was sometime mid 2016 when I quit my full-time job and started doing this full-time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I always love those stories, how like I love hearing how things start and how businesses start, and like everyone always has like a different story, but there's always that one person or that one thing that like starts you on this journey, right? Like for me, I was given an ultimatum of going to jail or getting a job.
Yeah.
And a tradesman took me under his wing and introduced me to the trades. And like, that's how I started. And that was fucking 25 years ago at this point, dude. I haven't left,
Is that Scott? No, Scott was someone you worked with.
Scotty was one of them. Yeah, so there was two guys. Okay. I mean, Bruce was the guy that really took me under his wing and kind of introduced me. Scott was like a lead tech. So Scott and Bruce are like best friends. They've been best friends for fucking 100 years.
Yeah.
So Scott was always like my competition.
Yeah.
So like he was like the top dog of like, the furniture guys. And I was like, I'm going to be better than him. And I was better than him when I left.
Absolutely, Scott. You know what
I mean? But both of those guys kind of had a big part in kind of getting me into the trades. So let's talk a little bit about your recovery, man. So like, our friend Eric had a treatment center up in New Hampshire. And when I was up there, I pretty much kind of talked to Eric and wanted to start a nonprofit woodworking program with some of the guys up there. And we did it for a year or two. And it was a blast. I had a fucking blast doing that with those guys.
Yeah.
The thing that would suck though is like, we'd start this program with them. We'd start building a bunch of stuff and doing all these things that was all community service based. And then there was one time that like I had 6 guys downstairs and we built this little wood shop downstairs and cleaned it all up, built workbenches, all shit.
Yeah.
And then all 6 guys got thrown out on the same weekend.
Yeah.
And I had all these projects that were all just like half finished.
Lots of turnover in that business.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not the employees though. It's the residents or whatever you want to call them. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it's just how it is.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your recovery, man, and kind of how it's been for you. Obviously you're an entrepreneur now, built your own business. You're successful at it. But you went down the wrong path as well as I did. And I think that, a lot of trades guys can kind of relate to that. So let's talk a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I'm a firm believer, in that the way my life is today, the only reason is because I'm clean and sober. I wouldn't be able to run a business. I wouldn't be able to hold a job, no matter what the job was, if I still was drinking and doing drugs and all that stuff. I did the normal thing, in high school, started drinking and stuff like that. And then in college, I got introduced to drugs and then, kind of just went off from there as you hear all the stories. You know what I mean? You try this thing once and next thing you know, I was like, I'm 24 years old. I went to college for 6.5 years, never finished. Sorry, Dad. And you know what I mean? It got to the point where I had the ultimatum. I moved back home a couple times and then left. And then, you caused so much pain on your parents, or siblings or family members, whatever it is. And I look back on that stuff now that I have 2 kids, even though they're like very small, you know what I mean? 5 and 2 years old. It's like, wow, that's got to be, I was not a good child for a long time, But, I'm a big, firm believer in God. I go to church almost every week with my family and stuff. And, I really owe all my quote-unquote success in life to God, because with God, I've been able to remain sober and everything. 12 years, actually, up from a few days ago. So September 11th, my sobriety date.
Well, that's easy to remember, at least.
And it's I already threw out one sorry, Dad, earlier. I got another one real quick for you. So September 11th, 2012 was my sobriety date. So I was at a 1 month long facility in Ashby, Massachusetts called Spring Hill, which I think is still there. And I remember I was telling the staff that worked there, I'm leaving. I am not staying here. I'm fine. I'm leaving. And at the time, my parents had sold their house, or just about sold their house, and were moved to South Carolina, which is where they live now. And all the staff had me in the room, we're going to call your parents. But I was I don't remember if they did or not. It was kind of squirrely, you know what I mean? But I remember telling the staff, being like, I know everything you guys are telling me is what I need to hear, but I'm not going to listen regardless, so I want out. It was just like that. I'm like, thanks, I know you're right, but I'm out of here. Because that's how messed up the drugs and the addiction make you. I'm like, yeah, you're right, but I'm going to go this way anyways. And I got a ride down to Worcester, and I remember, mentioned September 11th, that's also my parents' wedding anniversary. So it was their 30th wedding anniversary, and I remember them coming to, I don't know if I contacted them or I don't remember, but I remember calling people from the train station, quote unquote friends or people I sold drugs or did drugs with. None of them wanted me over either. So I'm like, all right, well, I got nowhere to go. And that's kind of when I know and I feel that, all right, this is God's way of intervening. Hit the brakes, do it now or don't do it at all. This is your shot, you know? And I remember my parents came there to pick me up, and I could be wrong, but I remember they were all dressed up nice. They're probably trying to go out to go to their anniversary dinner and stuff. And then my dad's probably gonna pick up this degenerate kid outside the fucking Worcester train station, But I owe all everything in my life, to God. And of course I grew up in a very good family. Drugs and stuff like that doesn't discriminate. My dad was always, successful. I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts, not a lot of drugs on the street like a city or nothing like that. But that's how that stuff goes. You want to try it?
Yep.
You don't know what's next thing you know, you're 24, and it was 8 years went by, and I was like, whoa.
Fuck, yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I know, like you said, they don't discriminate, man. It's some of those rural towns and the smaller towns were affected more than a lot of these inner cities, And the thing is all the inner city kids knew about all this shit, right? And they knew what it did, and they knew it was a problem. Not to say it didn't touch any inner cities, because obviously it did, but the kids out in the burbs didn't know as much about it.
No, it's not going to happen to you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That
it's not going to happen
kids
to
in
you.
The city,
Yeah, no, there's, there's so many people in the cities that, they've never even done this stuff, never tried this stuff, which is, normal in America now, kids smoking weed. I don't know, it's legal in Massachusetts or something. I don't know how that works now.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people, too, there's a lot of people that live in these cities. There's a lot that are selling it, of course. That's just how it goes in the cities. That's just what it is.
Yep.
But there's a lot less people, doing it that are actually from the city. Most of the people you see walking the street or homeless people or whatever were not born and raised in that city.
Right.
They got hooked. They have nowhere to go,
Yeah.
and they're staying close to where they can get the drugs.
Yep. Yeah.
So
It's crazy, man.
but yeah, man.
Absolutely crazy. Well, yeah, man, thanks for sharing the story.
Yeah,
I think it's,
absolutely.
like I said, I think it's important to get that out there, man.
Yeah.
That there is hope, right? Like, not everybody that, is an addict or is active in addiction is a lost cause, man. There's a way out. There's a way to make it out, and, some of the best people that I know, both character-wise, success-wise, business-wise, are in recovery, and it's, I obviously had my brush with things and, just never, for my own reasons, for reasons I'll never understand, never affected me in that way.
Yeah.
But I've been as close to it as anybody, and it's cool to see people that do make it out, because I've lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that people make it out and are successful and, on their fucking road. And I think sharing that story and making sure other people know that there is fucking hope. Like, it's not a hopeless fucking life. Like, you can get out, you can be successful. You just gotta take the steps, right?
Yeah. I use it to my advantage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Sunday morning, I feel fine. Saturday morning, I feel fine. And this is not an advantage I have over people that are doing drugs, but the average person has a few drinks on the weekend or whatever it may be. I don't have anything that's, slowing my brain or my body down besides, certain food intake, cereal late at night and stuff like that.
Jay has a cereal addiction.
I think, what was it? What did my sister call?
Disorder. She called it a fucking disorder.
I kept telling her I'm trying to quit eating cereal every night, like in bed, a bowl of cereal. She's like, that sounds like a disorder. I'm like, I gotta go, dude. See you later. What is that shit?
What did you say? Chronic cereal disorder?
Yeah, something like that. I'm like, whatever. Like, I used to have another disorder that was way worse. Like,
Right, I'll take this one.
Cereal disorder. I gotta go.
I'll take some love handles.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So as far as business and shit goes, obviously, you guys are rocking and rolling, you're growing. Where do you see this thing going, man? How big you want to blow this thing up? Where do you see yourself in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah. So, the goal is, someone with an addictive personality, right? Is just keep going, go bigger, go harder, get smarter at it. In the last year or so, we've branched out and started doing stuff similar to what we do with you. Not a residential house move, but doing more specialized deliveries that companies like yours don't want, freight guys handling or whatever. You want guys that are, better with handling stuff with caution, basically.
Right.
So we've been working with you guys. We started working with a few interior designers where they'll ship all their stuff into us. So that in end makes the warehouse more active. So now we have an operations manager, which is Dixon, but we're, he's on the road today, so I'm handling that stuff. You know how that goes, you know. And I actually am onboarding a new admin starting tomorrow, because I've come to realize that, and you probably go through this too, or you have gone through this, I'm sure, is that when you've certain something to get done, and it's your business, you love it, you care for it. My business is my first kid.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It really is. Like, I care about it a lot. Obviously, I wouldn't be going at it every day for 10 years now if I didn't. But, you look at it and it's hard sometimes to kind of pass stuff off. But it's like, I try to tell myself, like, the stuff that I want to have this person do now to free up my time, I probably did it way worse when I started than what I'm going to ask them to do today.
Truth.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what's good about an admin is that you're molding that person to be the, you pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think that it's scary, like you said, because it's your business, it's your baby. And you, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we started this thing from nothing. Like, we feel like that we can do it the best. We can do it better than everybody else. Nobody can do it as good as I can. But when you start training an admin the way that you do things and the way that you want things done, they're just replicating your processes. So it's not like, you're losing any of that. And it's nice because it just frees up your time to do other things. I still say that hiring Tyler as my admin is probably one of the best business decisions I ever made.
Yo, I bet.
Just for the small, stupid stuff, man. Because like, our time is valuable, right? So like, There's a way, and I talk about this book all the time, but I'm going to say it again. Buy Back Your Time from Dan Martell is, he talks a lot about like what your worth is to your company, right? So if you make $100,000 a year, the way that he has his formula broken down is that your time is valued at about $100 per hour. So as you go through your day and you're doing these tasks, like is you paying bills or you doing invoicing worth $100 per hour? Would you pay somebody $100 an hour to do that?
Right.
And it's like, if it's no, then the admin does that shit.
Yeah.
Or you hire somebody that does that stuff. So I think it's a good way to do things, and like having an admin is, I think, the first step to really kind of freeing up your time and kind of building the business that you want to build. But it's tough too, because like then there's turnover, right? And then like you have to train this person, you get them to a certain point, and then they leave for whatever reason. You got to start the fucking process all over again. That's
absolutely,
that's life, though.
Absolutely, and that is the main thing that makes it tough, is that you always have this comes into your head, and it says like, okay, I'm going to spend so much of my time, my $100 an hour, however you figure it out, time training this person. In 2 weeks, they say, not really a job for me, then you got to start it over, and you got to start it over. But I feel like, so for me, when I first started, it was like, all right, I'm going to go rent a U-Haul. This guy's going to come with me. We're going to go do the move today. And then, after 2-3 years, it's like, I'm not going to go to this move. They go, and I'm like, okay, let's see how this goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I have a real good core group of guys, a few of them. When we hire movers now, especially during the busy season, I'm not out working with them at all. They go out with the guys show them the ropes and all that stuff, because I've been off the trucks for long enough now that like sometimes if we're super busy and the guys are working long hours, I'll go show up and, do it for a few hours. Yeah. I don't say nothing. You tell me what to do. You're in charge here, and I'm just here for the extra hands and stuff.
Yep.
Same thing with the admin. Like there's certain stuff that I'm thinking like we're saying, like, oh, is this going to be worth the time showing it? What if this person doesn't work out? And then I also have my wife does a few days of admin stuff already, Thursdays and Fridays in the office. So she'll be able to show her some stuff too.
Yep.
So I think of it as like, oh, last year I wanted to hire an admin. I never did. I would have had to train him on 100% of this. Now I only got to train him on 80. You just got to keep hammering at it.
Yeah.
That's really all it comes down to. It's not easy, but that's what it is, Yeah. So
consistency, man, in like all facets is kind of the key to success, I think, in a lot of ways. I guess health-wise too, man, because I know me and you go to the gym a couple days a week sometimes, once a week sometimes. We talk business, we talk shop. I always find like our conversations in the gym to be just productive. I think the gym is like a great fucking place to have business meetings and like talk business and shit instead of like going out for food or drinks or whatever other people do,
Yeah.
I think that, the in the trade specifically, in the blue collar life and the blue collar families, that's a big thing, man, is like trying to stay healthy and like, eating right and try and make time for the gym and, all these different things. Like, how have you been able to stay productive with your mental health and going to the gym and your physical health with going to the gym and still operating your business? Like, how do you manage and balance all that? Because you also have a family at home. You have 2 small kids. You have a wife.
Right. So it's very hard, and it can be very draining, especially with the kids. I was talking to a realtor I work with on the way here, and we were joking around about how like taking care of your kids is a million times harder than your business and everything else. Like you think when you start your business, like, oh man, this is brutal. This is so tough and this and that. Kids, that's a real job. You know what I mean? That's a real job, I've been up since 3 this morning because I woke up and both of my little ones escaped their bedrooms. So they're next to me. My wife's down like 3 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, everyone's sleeping. I'm out of here. I went to the office at 3 in the morning. But, the gym, like you said, and exercising and stuff, it's very important, especially for me. Like, I notice on times where I've gone through stints where I'm not working out or anything at all. I'm just not as good as of a boss. I'm not as good as a husband, as a father, probably. Because when I'm working out, whether it's running, lifting weights, or whatever, I just feel better. And then you project that you're feeling better on those around you versus, feeling like a bag of shit and
Right.
acting like a bag of shit.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
You know, but no, that's huge. That's huge. And I like what you said too. It's like, it's a good place to talk about business and work like that because you're sharing in something that you enjoy and benefits you. And then like when you go, it benefits you, but we're also, you know, we're feeling good, we're working out, and we can kind of bounce ideas off each other. It's a good way to do that. And it's definitely more beneficial than going out to have drinks or, you know, going out to food. That's second best. But,
Yeah.
you know what
Well,
I mean? But then
especially
if
in
you eat
Lawrence.
so much, yeah, there's a lot of good places. We've been hitting them all.
We go to those places in Lawrence that are so fucking good.
Absolutely.
Right. And then they're like at the street over from the gym, which is kind of a problem sometimes too.
Yeah. Well, close enough. No excuses for not making it to dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
so-
sometimes I'm actually kind of happy that like I'm so busy because there's been a couple of times I've left the gym and I was thinking about what's that the cafe
La Greca?
no, what's the other
The
one?
one where we got the coffee or the one we went,
The one we went before with
with the cow?
yeah.
Vaca.
Yeah.
That place is very, very good. And I don't know how the guy that owns that place owns a couple restaurants. I don't know if it's in Manhattan. I believe one in Manhattan, but he's been very successful. And it was, you know, that place is, it's different for the area. It's a little bit higher price, but it's a great atmosphere. The food's great, as you know.
It's fantastic.
I might end up going
Same thing
tonight
like,
if we keep talking about
dude,
it.
Luna,
You know what I mean?
That place Luna too.
Oh yeah,
That place is bomb too.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple little places over there. Sometimes I'm like happy I'm busy and I got shit going on after I leave the gym because I'm always like, fuck, I could just swing over there real
know.
quick and grab some
I
fucking
know.
food.
No, for
my
sure.
problem is like I have to go with somebody like you because I have a hard time with the menu and you speak the language, so it
I
helps.
usually just blabber at the mouth. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if someone, you know, you say you have some guy come in to deliver something to you and he's speaking Spanish or something.
Yeah.
You just kind of go with the flow. That's probably what they do.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
probably. Yeah.
I actually speak Spanish pretty good if you ask me.
I think so too. I mean, I don't know any better, but it seems pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I even going to the gym that time, I got there, and you didn't get there until late because you fucking slept in like a fucking.
I don't get
lazy
tired.
bastard.
All right.
But I had to fucking Google Translate on how to buy a guest pass.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, and now I actually know it's like, fuck, I was practicing it the other day too. I forgot how to say it already.
It's great to learn and know another language.
It is, man.
In my line of work, the best workforce in this day and age, the majority of them speak Spanish, whether it's the only language they speak or their first language.
Yeah.
That's just what I've come to know. And I mean, anyone drives around, sees guys doing construction, roofing, you know, the majority labor jobs, it's people that speak Spanish. They're the hard workers, you know. And learning the language is great too. I mean, it's great for many reasons, but one of the best reasons, I mean, think about like, you know, when you used to go in someone's house and you were installing all the cabinets yourself, right? And you got that customer that wants to direct you, tell you what to do, everything the whole time.
Yeah.
We're out doing a move. We can kind of talk like, hey, let's go do this room first. Let's go do that room second. Without we can kind of
Tell
go
them
with
that.
our own
Yeah.
flow without someone always coming in and you know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's when you were saying like, oh, I go to the gym and I was using the Google Translate and stuff. It's a lot different for us versus them. And I mean, what I mean by that is like, they know that their language is the second language in the country, in the area, whatever.
Yep.
So when you go in, like some people will have a different reaction if all my guys go to do a move and they're all speaking Spanish. They maybe like feel like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable or whatever. Where if me or you go in a place where everyone speaks Spanish, they just try to figure it out because they just kind of know that's how it works.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, but yeah.
Interesting.
Google,
Yeah, man.
Google solves all
Dude,
problems,
it does,
man.
man. It's great for that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, and what I type it in, and then you have the little button that you can like listen to them say it, and I like practice it in the truck
you
and
can
shit.
have him say it. My wife, as you know, is Dominican, and her mom, my mother-in-law, the best one in the world, by the way, right? She only speaks Spanish, right? She very little or no English, right? So when family comes over, her and my mom to spend the whole day together. It's like looking at their phones, conversating all day long. Because the mother-in-laws are trying to be all like, we got to talk about this and this and that.
Yeah.
And they just spend all day like on Google Translate. And they're
That's
like
awesome.
laughing and stuff. I'm like, do they even know what they're laughing about? I'm like, let's just let them be so we can go do what we want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's sweet though, because
Yeah, it's
your
great.
mom's learning a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah.
Her mom's learning a little bit of English. Like it's
Yeah.
good, and I feel like that's like the best way to really learn a new language is like kind of be
and just
in it.
and just practice it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like when I first started actually like saying stuff like to people that I don't know.
Yeah.
Who cares if like someone's like what or whatever? You know what I mean? Because people are nervous to learn and use it because I think people are gonna be like, "What the fuck did you just say?"
I
Like
actually
looking
get
at you all weird. It's like, dude. Sometimes I'll say something and someone look at me. I'm like, when you say it in English, guy, all right? You know what I mean? I'm trying over here.
Yeah, it's funny because like I think that's fun. Like I was actually like excited to like ask for my guest pass in Spanish as like
Yeah.
I was learning it and shit. Like,
Yeah.
But my oldest son was like, dude, it's so embarrassing when you do that. Like people fucking think it's weird. I'm like, I don't think people think it's weird. Like I would if when I learn people when I meet people that are like learning English and you can tell that they're trying and like they're working on it. Like
Yeah.
I'm like jealous of those fucking people. I'm like, I want to fucking do that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I
No,
think
they
it's a
think,
fucking cool.
and you would think that they think it's cool too.
Right.
Because they're like, like you said, like if you went into the gym and you got to get, a pass or something and say the woman that's working at the counter doesn't speak English, instead of you being like, this, whatever you're trying to explain, and her being like, what are you talking about? When you do that, like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I like
Thank
it.
you. You know what I mean? Gracias. Whatever.
It shows like, we're fucking unified, man. We're
Yeah.
together,
Yeah, no, for sure, man. For sure.
All right. I don't know how we went off on a Spanish tangent. But,
I don't know.
but what do you think? So as far as business goes, right? Growing the business, kind of getting to where you want to be and blowing it up. What are you finding as, current issues? What are you having the hardest time with as far as growth goes? And then what do you foresee being the biggest issues for you down the road as you grow?
So right now, the hardest issue for me is my time being stretched thin. With having the 2 kids, the business, making sure I make time to exercise just so I'm a better person in general. My time. And that's why, my wife's came in to do 2 days a week in the office. Dixon does a lot of stuff around the warehouse now that I would always do. And then I'm hoping we get this admin in, and then she can really take a lot of stuff, like a couple hours, 2, 3, 4 hours of stuff off my plate every day. Because once I'm freed up, I can go out and do all these networking events that I can never get to, or, I go and try to do a lot of like presentations at realtors' offices and stuff. Because you got to get in the door. That you're going to get business when you meet people in person.
Yeah.
You call them all you want, but if you meet them in person, it's way better, way more beneficial. So when I can free up time, like before the summer, I was going around doing a lot of that stuff or more of it. Once it starts getting busy, it's like I don't even know what happened. All right, now it was like a little cool out this morning in September. All right, I didn't get to many of those this summer, But freeing up my time, that's what's gonna allow me to grow. Because when I have more time to do what I should be doing, then I keep all the guys busy. We just got our 3rd truck like a couple months ago. So then, when I have more time to make more sales, we're gonna need another crew. We're gonna need another truck.
Yep.
And the big thing that I'm really trying to plan is getting a good size warehouse, to buy, because right now I lease a space. It's worked out great. But right now the building is like full with storage. I don't have like any room in there. So 1, I need more space. And 2, when you're leasing a warehouse or renting a warehouse, it's like renting an apartment.
Throwing money away.
You're giving the money for someone else. I know I'm not going anywhere with this business. It's not like I'm just starting out and want to buy a building. No,
Right.
like the business is there. It's time to get myself my own building, get someone to take a lot of the work off my plate and let me do what I want to do to grow the business, So I'm hoping within a year to find a building.
Yep.
I've gone through some of the financial process of planning for that and all that. But finding what I need is hard. I need a building with like 25, 30-foot ceilings so I can maximize the space with those storage crates that I use.
And a loading dock.
Yeah, because all that stuff's going to save time, money, space.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference. We're paying more for a building you buy versus leasing. That money, that difference in money is going to be covered just by having a couple of these amenities or whatever you want to call it, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And you're looking in like that Lawrence kind of Haverhill millwork or mill building kind of areas.
I was, but what's hard is you would think because they have all these massive buildings and, you know, a lot of them, there's, you know, a lot of vacancies and stuff. But a lot of them, even though the buildings are huge, a lot of them are set up with like, you know, like the 15-foot, you know, like the ones they make into apartments and they have like 15, 20-foot ceilings. That's like the bones of all those buildings. So that, you know, I was thinking like, you know, I see all these buildings when I'm out running and stuff like that. These buildings are huge, but then the roof is still the 12-foot or the 14-foot.
So it's going to be harder to find a shell in the mill buildings because they're separated by floors. I
Exactly.
mean, they used to be factories, right?
Exactly.
You know, so it's like multiple floors and that. Yeah, I guess I never really thought of that because when you look at the building from the outside, it just looks like this
it's
big
got to
building.
be, that's plenty tall.
Yeah, that's 60 feet tall.
Then when you go in, they're like, it's 8 floors. I'm like, never mind.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, so even like metal buildings, like those shells.
Yeah. Like the building I lease now, something like that. That seems to be the new, the only way they're really building warehouses now.
Yeah.
You know, is those metal buildings, you know.
So what about building your own building?
I've thought about it, and I just think that it would be too long of a process in a sense where, like, once I'm out of this lease, I want to be getting in somewhere. I don't want to have to, let's say it's I don't even know the specifics, but let's say it's like a 6-month to a year process of I get a piece of land and then it takes a year to put it up. So I'm going to have to pay for both places.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I feel like it would just be more headaches than I would want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but then you get exactly what you want. Brand new building.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean?
Now you're getting me going back on my word. You know what I mean? I might change it up.
And there's companies that specialize in just metal buildings.
Yeah.
And they fucking throw those things up quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. I think that's definitely the route, the metal building style or whatever to go.
Seems like the best way, especially if you want those tall ceilings. The only thing that's tough though is a lot of the ones that you see are like a pitch ceiling. You'd almost need like a fucking flat roof.
Yeah, and see with the metal buildings, they don't do many with flat roofs. They do a lot like, you know, like the triangle or whatever.
Yeah, the pitch.
And then they do some with like a little bit of a slope. That's what I would need, but it would be I would still need it that certain height in the back. I mean, the whole point's to maximize the space.
Right.
You know, it's like if people rent a storage unit to put their stuff in, they want to get the smallest unit. You pay for less. As much as you can fit in the thing is what's going to be better for you. And that's the same way I use the warehouse with the crates and the forklift. You want to take the most minimal space and fit as much as you can.
Right. Are you limited by how high your like forklift can go, or can you get just?
So I put 3 of them on top of each other. So it's basically they average like 7 to 8 feet tall. Mm-hmm. So I can stack them 3 high. My forklift will only go that high. But with the crates I use, I know some people that do them 4 high. My forklift doesn't go that high. I think that's more. Most people that go 4 high have these newer style crates that are, I don't know if they're metal or what, but they're just set up different, you know, probably more secure because, you know, an average one weighs a couple 1,000 pounds. So if you get one on top, 4 high, then all of a sudden the bottom one is 6,000 pounds on top of it.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I didn't think about that either. So you're limited on, you know, there's a height restriction obviously as far as you can reach, but you're also limited how many you can stack on top of each other.
Right.
Because the crates that you use are all wood, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, in the building I'm at now, I have the pitched roof. So I have some areas where I can get 3 high and some areas where I can get 2 high.
Yeah.
But the goal is to have it more uniformed. And if I can put 3 high, then I can fit way more crates. You bring in more storage.
Yeah.
That pays the note on the building.
Yeah.
You know?
And right now, the way that you have it set up, because you're limited in space, you got crates in front of crates, So if you have to get to one of those back crates, you have to move a bunch of shit.
Exactly.
But if you have a bigger space, then you can leave your aisles or alleys or whatever in between to be able to access what you need to be able to access without moving shit.
Yeah,
So again, that's another kind of cost analysis. If you do buy a new building, or if you have a new building built, that's another place where you save money and time.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. You save a lot of money on the labor having the loading dock, because then you open the door, the guys can pop stuff wherever they need to versus going up and down the ramp or whatever, or handing stuff down. It's still one more person grabbing it, moving it.
Yeah.
And moving the crates, like you said. Right now that building is so full that if someone said, it's set up in a way where I have people that's, I need you to hold my stuff for a year. Okay, so their stuff's in the back, but, plans change.
Right.
And it can take hours and hours and hours to get everything out, to bring it back in.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you pay someone for 8 hours to move something that could have taken you 15 minutes if you had the right setup. So all those little things are going to make the difference on what a building's going to cost that you own versus what you lease. All that's going to contribute to the extra cost, basically.
How many square feet are you looking for?
Probably around like 10,000.
Yeah.
Right now I have about 4,500. And my goal would be to get the building the style what I need with the flat roof, and then maybe the first couple of years lease out part of it, and hopefully business keeps going good and growing, and then eventually just take the whole building over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the plan. So
yeah, because you could start off, like you said, leasing out part of it to another smaller moving company.
Yeah.
Someone that needs the space like you needed when you got the 4,500 square feet.
Yeah.
Or, even somebody like me, like fucking storing cabinets or storing shit like that.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, the building that I'm at now, we got a electrician, a plumber. There's like it's not just on Amazon, but it's a store that sells like kids' clothing, uses that for their warehouse space and everything. There's plenty. Small warehouse space is very limited right now. I mean, I can just tell because when I started looking around, the rates of what they leased them for 5 years ago versus now is like, I don't even know. It's like 60% of what the cost is now for the same amount of space. So obviously there's people trying to find them if they're able to get, this much more for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that like in Kingston where I am, that building, because he has 2 buildings, but essentially it's 3 buildings because there's a lower level in one building and then the top level on another building, but they're in the same building. And then there's a building in the back. And then almost directly across the street, they built the same types of warehouses up there, a little bit bigger. My buddy Tor Larson, who has Signs East, has a place over there, and they were selling them. So when I was looking at both, or I was looking at either buying a space or like leasing a space. And I want to say the ones across the street were 2,300. It was either 1,800 or 2,300 square feet. I looked at so many different spaces, but it was somewhere in that range, right?
Yeah.
$430,000. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, dude, fucking 5 years ago, that was 300.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe how much those things changed. And it's hard. Like, if you were going to, so if I were to buy that and then say I wanted to lease it out to somebody, like that is you'd have to fucking charge an astronomical amount of money to be able to lease that out and make any money on it. So it's like, so I get why prices have gone up as far as leases go, because like it's costing these guys so much more to like build
everything
them up.
Everything is way more, and it's hard to keep up with that in terms of like, how much can you actually raise your rate and still get enough business to keep all the trucks going, or like how much more can you charge for the storage and still keep the place full enough where it's covering the lease and but those are things that aren't in our control. So we got to find ways to go through it regardless.
Right.
I mean, the price of diesel has been $4 and higher for 4 years now.
Right.
Like we used to go to, used to be able to drive to Florida for like $600 in one of the moving trucks. Now it's $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, I went to California a few months ago, $3,000 or like $2,900 in fuel to drive there.
Right.
Like driving for 5 days was $3,000 in gas. You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah.
And that would have been $1,700. So,
Right.
you know, it's a $1,300 difference. And when someone hires us to do a long distance move, our price is typically about 10% higher than like the big van lines. You know, but we'll take the whole thing direct. They're working with us, and that's why they go that route.
Right.
But then you have you have that extra 10%, but then all of a sudden all of our costs went up 15% too. Like we got to find a way to still make what we need. The guys get paid what they deserve for their work without bringing the margin down to nothing either.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
It's tough.
yeah.
It's tough. Oh shit. All right, man. Well, yeah, we'll kind of start wrapping this thing up a little bit. We got Toolbox tips coming up. Before I get into Toolbox tips, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're gaining anything from this podcast, if you like listening, subscribe, like. It's the only way we can keep this thing going. We need the audience. We need the engagement. So please just don't ask for anything. All I ask for is to like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Let's get the word out. So Toolbox tips, man. Toolbox tips is where you give everybody just a tip. And you know, practical advice for anybody that is, you know, say they're fucking new, just getting into recovery and don't know where they want to go, what they want to do with their life, or, you know, thinking about jumping ship and starting their own company, or thinking about, you know, getting into business for themselves, or, you know, anything like that. Like, what would be that kind of top piece of advice that you would give them?
The top piece of advice would be to learn and develop your mindset in a sense where really no matter what happens, everything's good. In a sense where like, yeah, I've been up since 3 a.m. today because I just couldn't sleep. Where a lot of people, you know, it's like 7, 8 a.m. and I'm like driving home to go get the kids up and bring them to school. I've already worked 5 hours, you know? But it's just training your mindset to, regardless of what happens, if you have a goal and you want to do something, you just got to show up and eventually it will happen.
Yeah.
You know, just building yourself a mindset of, I'm not giving in, staying disciplined to it, you know, whether it's continuing hammering at business, if stuff's getting messed up or stuff's not going as planned. Oh, I injured my elbow. All right, well, I'm not going to quit the gym. I'm just going to work around other stuff till it comes back. It's just training your mind to learn how to deal with the stress of life, whether it's recovery, business, family, whatever.
Yeah. That's fucking great advice, man.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, there's stress management, bro. There's so much shit that comes up and things that go on. You know, me and you both had a hell of a fucking morning today. Like,
absolutely.
You know,
we're laughing about it though.
We're laughing about it, right? You know,
because it's
you know, just part of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, developing those ways to just kind of manage those things, man, like that's, you know, awesome advice. I think that's huge. And at the end of the day, not everybody has it. You know, and, you know, and I don't know, man, like, do you think that that's something that is like trainable, like learnable for everyone?
Yeah. Well, I think anything could be possible for anyone, but it's very hard to do. I mean, if you look at anyone in a sense of athletes, you know, you could look at athletes, high earning business people, mothers in general with kids, like how do they keep going and keep a positive attitude? You know, you just got to train your mind.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. You know, gym helps with that, but just kind of engraving in your mind that you just have to keep going. People that give up or complain end up in the same cycle of negativity.
Yep.
You know, we both had some things come up this morning at work where I got to change this, I got to change that. Okay, whatever.
Okay. Yep.
Figure it out, learn from it.
Right.
If it's a mistake, how do you fix it? And that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's, you know, and just thinking about the morning, right? Like it's, you know, managing all of that stuff. You have 15 different things going on. Problems come up. You get this plan. You get this schedule's fucked up. and then, you manage it and you kind of do what you got to do, but it's also fucking the people, right?
Yeah.
Like I would have had to, I don't know what I would have had to do this morning if I didn't have you and be like, hey, can I borrow a guy?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, for sure.
I think that, it just speaks volumes. And I look at it like this every day. It just speaks volumes of like what your network is and the people that you have in your corner and your ability to manage your day-to-days and
Yeah.
the stress and the shit that's got to get done.
People, you surround yourself with people that have a good mindset, not necessarily just successful business people, guys that are, personal trainers if you like working out or whatever, but you surround yourself with people with a positive, dedicated, happy mindset, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
If you want to try to save everyone and try to teach everyone to have this positive mindset, you're going to be miserable right away because that's just how it is. People that have these things that you want, those are the people you want to be around because those are the people that are going to lift you up, and then you'll be doing it to others as well.
Yep.
Makes it easier,
Rising
the
tide
game of life,
raises all ships.
rolling the dice every day, baby.
Hell
I'm
yeah,
all in every day.
all in every day.
Absolutely.
I don't get tired.
Never. Nunca.
All right, cool, man. Hey, listen, I'm glad you came on. I'm glad
Perfect,
we
brother.
finally made this happen, brother.
Absolutely.
And, we'll have to have you on again, man. Down the road as you kind of grow and continue to grow. Like, once you get this building, get the shit going on, man.
Oh,
it'd be
it's
cool to have
going
you come
down.
on. Oh, yeah.
It's going down.
I believe it.
I said a year, but 6 months it'll be there, baby. Let's go.
I love it.
You know?
All right, cool, man. Thanks again
All
for
right.
coming on. Hey, thanks for listening, everyone.
Appreciate it.